Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the East-West Show. Jack Chow on the East-West Show with the ICT TV. With the past election, this is a June midterm election. There's lots of post-election thoughts. Lots of mathematics are being given. Lots of studies are being done. Right? We try, of course, as on the news front, the election is passed, it's over. However, all right. It is never over until we really find out how the minorities these days in this country are performing, what kind of position are they taking, to what extent are they recognized. To get to the answer of those questions, I have my friend, dear brother, Chris Shahinian, a political commentator, former candidate for California Senate, to be with me to share his beautiful thoughts. So, sir, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, good. So, the past election, I remember that I had you come here right after to talk about result. However, that talk was just about the result, right?
Okay.
Now let's go to behind the result, though, to see what exactly was the trend behind it. So how do you feel about it?
This is a very timely topic because everybody's talking about past election.
All right.
And it's particularly 2018 election. 2 years ago, 2016 election was a huge. It shifted entirely political atmosphere. And people start thinking, what happened in 2016? 2018 came. This election is, I can call it, the most dynamic midterm election in our history. Since 1914, about more than 100 years ago, this is the first time we see that in midterm elections, so many people voted in midterm. 118 million people voted in this midterm election.
I see.
This is including
about
everybody.
40% of our population.
Yes, this is a huge, unheard of. That says a lot about what's happening on kitchen table, what's happening behind the scene on people on a daily basis talking. Because 2016 was a huge victory for Republicans. Donald Trump became a president. But right after the inauguration day, the same day that Donald Trump became inauguration, the minorities, they started galvanizing around United States. That sent a big wave of message to everybody. That minority, get ready to get your share. This minority issue goes back to hundreds of years. When African American, they started to fighting for their right. And they fight for their right because they wanted to have piece of the pie in the American government. And unfortunately, we are the white society. America is a white society.
I agree.
But having said that, 2018 election brought a big highlight to the minorities' power. And I'm going to give you later on what happened. But this fight for minority to have a vote, it started 100 years ago when African Americans, they wanted to have their voice in this country. And African American back then, they understood that the ballot is stronger than a bullet. They understood that. They can't fight the white people with the bullet.
Yeah, you're right.
But they understood that. They can fight with the ballot. What they did, instead of revolt, instead of making a revolution, they start fighting for their right to have a vote. This is going 100 years.
All right.
In 1960, when Kennedy came, John Kennedy, he was very close with the African American community. He was very close to Martin Luther King. And he talked, he listened. He listened to that cause. And Kennedy promised then that he's going to support the minority, he's going to support Voting Rights Act back then. Unfortunately,
And he was assassinated.
he was assassinated.
And that probably is why he was assassinated.
It's a lot of
Nobody
speculation.
knows.
No one knows.
Nobody
But
knows,
someone knows about it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, of course.
I'm not going to go
And that's
that.
why when the last time when the document released, right, after certain years, 60 years,
30
or
years, yeah,
something,
30 years.
and Donald Trump still decides let's withhold something until much later.
Yeah.
That's something being withheld. Probably will say something. Why John F. Kennedy was assassinated?
Could be one of the reasons.
Could be, of course.
But
You never know.
But what happened right after Vice President Lyndon Johnson became president? Lyndon Johnson was, not aware. He was completely not aware what John Kennedy was doing with the minority. But Martin Luther King, he met with him. He said, you know what? This was the plan when we were John Kennedy. We want you to take that torch, follow his footstep. And they put a lot of pressure on Johnson. And believe it or not, Johnson came and supported Voting Rights Act. That changed the history of our political dynamic. That changed big time. And African Americans, since then, they start actively participating in election after election after election. 2008 was, they got the fruit for their participation. President Obama was elected as a president, first African American. So, going back to your questions, the minority, they fought hard to get their voice heard. But until 2016 and a little go back, minority, they didn't have the energy to get up and vote. It was always, because last 10 years, there was always some legislation, law passed to put some barriers. Oh, don't go, so we need to ask for ID. So some law that passed that discouraged minorities to get up, forcefully to get up and vote. That didn't work. 2018, every minority group, they exceeded their expectation.
They pop out.
They pop out. They participate with big numbers. I'm going to show it later on my iPad that how big this 2018 election was. And of course, there's a reason for that. There's a reason. The reason number one, I think, the frustration, I'm going to say it very honestly, from Donald Trump, our president. That was one of the reasons that minorities and the policy that was pushing Donald Trump, that galvanized, energized the minority. They said, I have to get up and vote. I have to get up and vote. And a lot of congressional seats has been lost, 50, and they admit that because of Donald Trump policy. This is not my interpretation. But number two reason was the candidate, they were able to energize the minorities. They were able to connect with Asians. They were able to connect with Latinos. They were able to connect with African American community candidates, not parties. That was the second main reason that me and myself, everybody else, we got up and voted and made history 2018.
All right, very good. I like this head-to-toe thorough analysis. Of course, totally, I do agree with the fact that the minorities were fighting for their fair share of on the political arena to get the right to vote, and of course, with the philosophy that a ballot is better than a bullet.
Stronger than a bullet, yes.
Stronger than a bullet thing. With that said, I still have questions.
Sure.
My question is that I do not go against the trend of the minority, of the, call it left or right, okay? Let's put it that way. Call it the minority being represented by almost the left, right, to work to fight for their fair share of rights. I do, however, have problems for the fact that they are represented, the ones representing them are pushing the country too far to the extreme left. And how about let's take a short moment out, we come back to spend some time to separate these two.
Sure.
Right. It is right to agree to the fact that the minority deserve the fair share, whatever we have. All right. And on the other hand, though, the ones representing them are using the minorities
We'll go with
to
that.
help them to go extreme. Right. So,
There's a reason
my
for that
dear
also.
friend, sure, my dear friend, with me is my dear friend Chris Shahinian. He's a political commentator, former candidate for California Senate 32. Let's take a moment out. We come back to continue with the answers to my question. Stay with us. Hello, my dear friend, my lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show, Jack Chow, with my friend Chris Shahinian, political commentator, former candidate for California Senate. We're talking about the fact that the past election, 2018 June midterm election, tends to be unprecedented for almost over 100 years.
Yes.
That is precisely 104 years in American history when the turnout is concerned. Right now, in the previous segment, we retrospectively talked about the time of John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Martin Luther King, so on and so forth, in midterm of last century, whereby we have the right of the minority in voting confirmed and locked up, right? So the thing is that now with what I see is that the ones representing the minority, right, well, kind of use that as a tool to push the country to the most extreme. That is the part I do not understand, and of course, that is the part I do not agree. You have any take about that?
This is very sensitive issue. We are going to go to the area that's very sensitive.
Yes,
Some
yes,
people,
yes.
they're going to hear this maybe first time, information that I'm going to share. And this is eye-opening segment it's going to be for our people to watch this show. And historically, as I said, we have been white society. Last 30 years, since 1980, about 30 million immigrants came to U.S. They become legally, not illegally, 30 million. And the trend is 62% of those immigrants are leaning toward Democrat, becoming Democrat. Only 25% Republican. It's a huge difference. And Republicans are famously divided on this immigration issue. And for us, people are coming immigrant. Immigration is number one issue. And the Republicans are divided on this issue. They don't have support. They're not been able to come up with solution to help the immigration reform. And who became the champion of immigration reform? Democratic Party. Democratic Party is unanimously supporting immigration reform. They are rallying behind minority issues. They understand the power of immigrant coming from outside. And 62% for that 30 million is huge. It's making huge difference and shaking the dynamic of the political power.
If I may, please, I would like to insert with a little more question about the cliche accusing, taking the credit for the Democrats for immigration reform, right? Okay, speaking of immigration, the comprehensive immigration reform, if it had been a push of the Democratic, right, how come within 8 years, when they were in control of both houses, the House of Representatives, the House of Senate, and yet they end up doing nothing?
Let me tell you why. If you watch 2 days ago, the big fight in the Oval Office, did you watch that? Did you watch that between Donald Trump?
Yeah, we talk about the conversation between Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi,
Yes.
Chuck Schumer, yeah.
You know, when Nancy Pelosi asked President Trump, why don't you bring it to the vote? Donald Trump said, this is what he said: we don't have 60 votes, because that was the key question and very important issue. If you don't have a 60 vote in the Senate, nothing will pass. You need to have 60 vote to get something passed. And no Democrat has during Obama, or Republican, they have that during. So that's why nothing is happening in Washington, D.C., because they are divided among themselves. That was the key. So
I agree
60
with you.
vote Senate, no one has that.
I agree with
But-
you on that one too.
But I'm not going to defend Democrats, let me tell you.
And again, there are times when the Republicans were in control of both houses, and yet once again, nothing was done. So,
This is politics,
all right.
clear politics.
As
But
long as we
having
agree,
said that,
this is politics.
Yes.
Now we'll allow nobody to go collect the credit.
Yeah.
Am I playing fair?
you are, but historically, immigrant, more particularly Hispanic and Asians, they are more leaning toward policy that Democrat, support. That's the number. Huge number of Latinos, Asian. If you ask, there was a survey about Asians. 50% of Asians, they call themselves Democrat. 25%, they call themselves Republican. See, it's a big gap. Even Asians, I'm not talking about Latino. Latino, the gap is bigger. So that says that minorities are more aligned with
Not
progressive issues than conservative.
Not until after they started seeing a picture, a hilarious picture, all right, such as the legalization of marijuana, such as the third bathroom on school camps, right, such as the legalization of same-sex marriage. So, even though the same-sex marriage thing was federal, not the state though, but state is one of them. Anyway, so now.
But Jack, let me tell you.
let me finish. A lot of Democrats have changed their mind, right? When they see the mess that those principles have created so far, like I said, the legalization of marijuana, which is still a headache that I'm going to talk about tomorrow, all right? And the third bathroom. Kids are confused. School are confused. The communities are confused. So on and so forth, right? So now, with them going, with those symptoms going extreme left, though, lots of people lost their mind being Democrats.
But having said that, I agree.
I'm one of them.
But we are two-party system country. We don't have third party. We don't have the party that we can shift from Democrat. That's why, even though still some people are frustrated from Democratic Party going to left, but still minorities are leaning toward progressive issues, Democrat, not left. So some of the minorities, myself, I'm very conservative, religiously conservative. But the other side it's not open for me, so I can shift my party, so I can go to the side. Even though I'm not satisfied with Democratic Party going to left, I'm not happy. but there's no third option.
How about this? Let's try to rephrase ourselves, right? We do not like extreme left, neither do we like extreme right, all right? So there are two parties, there are struggles always, all the time, that we take it as for granted because that's the nature of the dual party system, all right? Now, any of the parties who goes extreme left or extreme right, who goes on extreme, right, it is the extremity kills the taste of being a member of it. Such as myself, I backed off from it.
True. I want to show you a picture so to see what is happening in our political. This is I don't know if people can see that. So I don't know if camera can see that.
Camera cannot see.
Cannot see that, but you can see that.
Ask the camera to do it.
You can see the trend. This is since 1988. The red you see is Republican, blue is Democrat, gray is the independent. See how much that chart's going up? 42% of Americans, they call themselves independent. There's a reason. I support exactly what you said. Because there's frustration from both sides.
I'm very glad you mentioned that because along with lots of people getting away from being on the left with the Democrats, the same thing happens with the right-hand side.
True.
And lots of people are leaving the Republicans being on the extreme right. Who remains? Who survives? The non-party, the liberals, right? And also the liberal trend of within the Republican Party, or neutral trend within the Republican Party. Call it the most conservatives. They survive. So together they make the gray line go higher, like 42%.
Yeah. So there's a clear frustration from both sides. But again, let's go back to the subject that we started, minorities. And I'm going to show another picture. I'm going to probably our audience, they're not going to see, but I want to show it. So this is very encouraging to see this trend that it's happening to the minorities. And I'm very, very, very extremely happy to see these numbers, which I'm going to show it to you. And then you can see, I want you to focus on Asians because a lot of our Asian audience, 2016, 38% of Asians voted. Look at the number 2018.
All right.
54%.
All right.
That's a huge victory. Exciting to the Asian community that they understood the value of the vote.
That exactly indicated that they are waking up.
Yes.
They are waking up from the fact being wrongly represented by the extreme left.
Left or right? This is
right.
I'm not saying who they vote.
Left or right.
Yeah,
okay, good.
but they participated. They said they raised their voice.
To be more precise,
and I'm going to congratulate the Asian community.
And they say, okay, no. I'm neither this nor that. I am. Okay, let me vote. That's why they show 54% instead of 36, right? So, which is a good trend.
Very good.
Okay, my dear friend, with my friend Chris Shahinian, we touch base with the numbers, lots of numbers, and the numbers don't lie. Numbers show the trend of people leaving both parties because they kind of doing a dogfight, which makes no sense. Nobody can explain. Take immigration, for example. Nobody can explain immigration was an issue for Democrat or was an issue for Republicans, because neither of them has done anything when they were in control of both houses. Okay, let's take a short moment out. We come back to exactly continue. Hello, my dear friends. My lovely audience, is my dear fellow Californians, welcome back to the show. As a matter of fact, the discussion about minority position. Right now, we see a trend of minority position growing more important positions, and also the last turnout of Asian Americans goes skyrocketing from 36 to all the way 54, almost 20%. That's a big jump, though. And the way I look at it is that they are tired of extreme left. Also, they are tired of extreme right. They will just flip off, say, hey, no more representing, all right? I don't want to be represented by whoever, and I just go my way. That's where the 54 will come from. You agree with me?
I agree, but again, we can take two important sentences from what you said earlier. People are not happy what's going on. And we are looking for new leadership. Americans are looking for new leadership, Jack. We want leaders that understand the issues, what we are struggling for. And dissatisfaction from Congress is huge these days. But the system that we have is two-party system. We cannot just not be part of the system. We cannot be part of the political movement. 1992, Ross Perot, I don't know if you remember, came. He was candidate as a third-party candidate for presidential. That didn't go well. But this time, 2020, it's coming to 2020. I think it would be ideal, this is ideal, to show that America is 42% is independent. I think we need America as looking for our leaders to see something new. This is what I suggest.
All right.
2020.
I will say.
I suggest Joe Biden becomes a president and Mitt Romney as a vice president, two-ticket, Republican, Democrat.
All right.
This becomes a great dynamic that can wake up the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And I think this ticket between Joe Brown and Mitt Romney becomes very strong, powerful ticket that no one can fight against, and people will be happy to support that.
There's another thing after the election, when people realize that they were cheated, they were lied upon, they totally lost their appetite going for politics, right? And it was the other day, we talking about the proposition number 6, and we found it, they lied upon us, and they lied upon us illegally, right? So when politics can turn into that kind of a trash, though, no one even like it. That's why the liberals,
but
the
Jack,
non-partisans.
Jack, the reality is, today politicians, they lie. They lie to your face. They lie. I mean, and it's sometimes unbelievable how they have the guts to lie on a public TV. They get up and knowing that, and they think people are fooled. They think they don't know. Today we can go fact check. We can check every statement that somebody said. You can fact check everything I said. You can go Google, is Chris saying the truth? So, but that's politics. They lie, they get elected, they neglect you. That's why. This is a very important issue. When election comes time, we need to put people, elect people they are honest. They prove themselves, they've been with people. Not election time, not that they have a good money, they have good campaign manager, they rally. We need to check their heart where they stand.
There's one of the big thing during the midterm election in LA County SD. Alex Villanueva was elected.
Yes.
He was a Hispanic American, right?
Yes.
So that election, that victory means something. Do you think so?
It's, by the way, Alex Villanueva, he's our sheriff now. Sheriff Alex Villanueva. And he was here with us a month ago.
Yeah.
We discussed a lot of issues. And I talked to him privately. And he said his message was to reform to the sheriff department. But his strength was he was cashing in on Latino vote. Like Donald Trump he tried 2016 to get the white man vote. And it was very successful. Donald Trump was able to galvanize the white man's vote. White man, like evangelicals, Christians, white, 89%, look at the number, how big, voted for him. He was able to connect with them, either through fear or message, whatever it is. But he was able to connect, and they put him as president. Alex, our new sheriff, he did the same thing. He saw that LA County is heavy Latino. And he cashed in on that. He understood there's issues that, they shouldn't have fear from sheriff department. And that message I said earlier, that candidates were able to connect with people. Alex was able to do that with Latino and minority community. The outcome was Latino in Los Angeles County, 66% went up for their voting.
The other day, I went to his inauguration, right? In his speech, he said one thing. He said, policing is not politics.
True.
Policing is not politics, all right? And problem is that there are in this country, there are many issues that are not politics.
True.
Right? They really want to put a name, a political name to every single issue we had. To them, everything is politics.
Unfortunately, when you're dealing with this organization, they have 18,000 working with them between civilian and uniform. And you talk billions of dollars, there's politics involved. There's always politics involved. But our new sheriff, he wants to separate. He wants to separate sheriff department from political power influence so he can do his job without that influence. It's going to be a very hard task, but he promised to do that. He was committed, and from day one, he is following his vision, and I commend on him. So I'm looking forward to work with new sheriff, and I contacted him the other day, and very soon we're going to be bringing him to our show here to go over what his new plan.
Yeah, I like
and
to
I
do
think
that,
we are working on it. So, I think this is a new era for our sheriff department. And coming to your questions, how much minorities have power? From now on, by the way, a lot of people, they talk about blue wave. There's no blue wave without Asian wave. There's no blue wave without minorities wave. There's no blue wave without, there's no wave, any wave without minorities anymore. I want every political party, every campaign manager understand this. From now on, minorities are in charge. That white society has gone. Nothing against white people. But the dynamic is changing.
Do not be too optimistic. I can promise you, United States still very white, right?
It is.
It's still very white. It will take a tremendous amount of time in extra to get rid of those.
Okay.
Let alone the fact Okay.
I'm going to give you some numbers.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
If we have time, I'm going to give you some numbers. We talked earlier about numbers, if you remember, and numbers don't lie. You said, if you remember.
Numbers don't lie.
And I said earlier that there's 8.7 million immigrants in the U.S. who are eligible for naturalization. 8.7 million, correct?
8.7 million.
7 million. So if I can show it in the screen. So
yeah, I'll show it
you show it later.
To the screen, yes.
And look what's going to happen. 5.3 million, they're going to tend to be Democrat. This is the trend that 2 million, they're going to be Republican.
Only 2 minutes?
You see the difference? Can you see the difference?
Yeah.
This itself, this message itself, it's alarming to both parties. Democrat, they're going to have a good support, but for Republicans, for that they are more, we call it white party, they should wake up. If, this is my assessment, I'm not psychiatrist, but I can tell you this. If the Republican Party, they don't wake up, they don't shift their policy, they don't understand the minorities issues, they're going to have very, very hard time for coming election to have elected Republican.
Okay.
Every year from now on, 1 million Latino becomes 18 eligible to vote. Every year, Latino in United States. And Latino more toward Democrat. That's going to shift the power jack. So this is, for us Democrat, it's a good news. We know that. But the Republican, they have to understand. They can't sit down and do nothing if they want to have power, continue to have the power, as you said.
I want to take a speculation in this area, though, right? What Republicans has been wanting, shall never be given for the Republicans by the Democrats, and vice versa. So the fighting is still there. As the most obviously visible result is that kind of fight produces lots of independent.
Yes.
The number 42 of independent will still be increasing.
True.
Until someday, the number is great. Even now, you could even have a independent candidate for the presidency.
But the problem is, Jack, they don't have the mechanism. I'm going to give an example. If I run independent, the independent, they don't have a mechanism to elect me to Congress but two parties, Republican and them, they have the mechanism. They have all the tools to take their candidate to run. But that's the problem that we have. So regardless, if that's 42%, 50, it can bring a balance, but you cannot elect independent in office. Look at our chart. 99% last 100 years from local office, from mayors, Congress, Senate, Assembly, 99% come from both parties, Republican and Democrat. Even though 40% is independent. We don't have 40% independent representing us in government, correct?
No,
we have none.
Well,
there's a reason.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the mechanism. They don't have the willpower. They don't have all the tools that need to put somebody.
A problem is someday they should set up another house, say the representatives of dependents.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think I will
work it out.
I think what the best scenario will be, Democrats and Republicans, they come to the center. That's the ideal. That's
okay.
America is about. America is not about going to far right or far left. America is about center. That's what I'm here. That's what we are
just
here.
like Bush says before he's passing away, says America is the American for American people.
Yes.
Right? Not for a certain group, not for non-profit organization or any of the advocate group or any of the party. Right? So this is totally to the citizen of the United States.
And I agree 100%. And having said that, Jack, 2024, listen, by 2024, it's going to be big change in coming voting power. The white, they're going to be the minorities. Are you here? Did you hear that? So the white in 2024, they're going to be minorities. So they had to work together. They have to work together with the Asian, with African Americans, with Latino. We can make our country great again.
Yeah, you're too optimistic. By 2020, I don't think the
2024.
2024. Well, another 6 years. I don't think that things will work out that fast. However, what makes a significance is that people are realizing that, right? People who never voted learned that only by vote, by casting a vote, can they be represented? Can they speak louder, right? So the problem goes not only here, the problem goes within the House, within the Senate, right? So look at the analysis into Representative House of California and the Senate House of California. So you will find that answer right away. Do you think so?
Well, now after 2018 election, California became bluest of blue. So, and we have in California now we have supermajority of Senate and Assembly. So, I am a Democrat, proud Democrat, but I think for the sake of our state, for the sake of our country, we need more people center. There's issues that we need to consider between both sides. Immigration reform is important. Environment is important. Minimum wage is important. Housing is, those are the issues to relate for Republicans and Democrats, everybody. What I wish is, 2020, we need, as I said, we need bipartisan ticket. I don't know, maybe it's not going to happen, but this is the way I like to see America. Both sides coming together to make America great, strong, and prosper again.
What a wonderful wish. I like it. I will wait for that day. However, that takes forever.
I don't know.
That will take forever. Right? Now, let's see. If you're there getting a very good party position and making the calls, though, you never want to give up until your term limit is over. That's why my friend Ken Hemming recommended yesterday before you, saying that the only resolution is to get rid of to give them, get rid of the lifetime term, give them restrictions of term limit, so that number one, they'll work hard. Number two, they will do some periodically. They will do something.
That's not going to happen.
Good.
Let me tell you. If you're calling me, I'm dreaming. Now you're dreaming, because that's not going to happen. Power. People love power. People, they don't like to give up their power. These people, when you elect them, they are thirsty for their power, and it's hard to give away their power. So that's why, again, that's a very important issue, but I think we're far away to reach that. But maybe by educating our people.
All right.
I can say, I myself, one day I have ambition to run for office, but I can say that I don't want to serve more than 8 years, regardless any position is. Because if you have a vision for your country, 8 years is plenty of time to implement your vision, to make a change, and then go back to yours. Because you don't want to sacrifice your family, everything for a lifetime. Get a period of time, because family is important also. Your children, they need you also. They need you when they graduate. They need you when they're getting married. They need you there when they are struggling. So if, yes, serving our country is important, but it should be limited, 8 years is plenty of time to make an impact.
I agree. Because people becoming lazy, reluctant, or sluggish after too long, right? And that doesn't mean I always say that to represent myself only. Doesn't mean it runs for represent for the ICT TV, nor does it to EDI. This is only my personal point of view. My personal point of view would be in a man's life, the most golden years are within 50 to 60, that range, right? You are mature enough to understand the whole thing, and you're not that old to die soon, something like that, right? So if that part of the age group, though, being the independent part, with my friend Chris Shahidian, we did a lot, and we were so deep in the thoughts that we lost track of time, which is a good sign.
It's a good sign.
Anyway, however, we have not done on this issue yet, because lots of people believe the trend is that we have more turnout. We never go behind the fact that we have more turnout. Why we have more turnout? Why for 104 years we first time see the turnout go sky high, right? So that is because we are tired of seeing what we see. So what is what we seeing? What we see? Those are extreme left, or call it extreme right, whatsoever be fair. So we just want America to be America. We want Americans to be Americans. We don't want to be taken ransom, right? So I want your summary, please.
Well, I think we talk about this issue, and I agree. We want Americans to be Americans, and we want America to be great again. And by the way, I'm going to take time to congratulate the Asian community for their participation in this election. Congratulations. That's a huge power for you. Keep going. I know a lot of people registering Asians, knocking doors. So this is the part of, American way of educating one another. And I said earlier, ballot is stronger than a bullet. We can communicate our thought, our vision, not by fighting, not by raising arm, not by yelling, screaming. We vote. And I think minorities community and Asian community are understanding, and they give huge value for our system. And we thank our founding fathers. They put the system that, one man, one vote. Now that I think coming year it's going to be more bright future for our minority community, and I would like to see America prosper, stronger, and safer by two parties coming together and fighting for people's right.
All right. Thank you very much for that statement. My dear audiences, thank you for watching. And to Chris, thank you for sharing.
Merry Christmas, by the way. Happy New Year.
Yes. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.